very great pleasure to welcome you to the museum today for this important tourism summit. Governor Cuomo, Lieutenant Governor Duffy, special guests, on behalf of the museum's Board of Trustees, it's an honor to have you with us today. And I also want to welcome my fellow sister institutions from across the state. The museum is delighted to host this event with New York State, which has been a critical partner to this museum since its founding in 1869. You know, most people think of the museum as a place of fossils and animals and cultural artifacts from all over the world and the beginning of time. And of course, that's true. But we also are true to our origins, and we have a clear New York focus. In our halls, I promise not to New York state animal, the beaver. You will find right here in this hall the state fish, the striped bass, and of course our state tree, the sugar maple, can be found in the Warburg Hall of New York State Environment. And trust me, I won't, but I could go on. And we do have, therefore, a very New York state of mind. We also have a vitally important partnership with New York State that has yielded the Richard Gilder Graduate School, making this museum the only museum in the Western Hemisphere authorized to grant a PhD, and New York State the only state with that leadership position. We are also, courtesy of the Board of Regents, offer the only freestanding museum-based master's degree in teaching science, with the degree in fact offered by the Board of Regents, enabling New York to play a leadership role in some of the most innovative educational offerings in this country. And of course, the museum is also home, thanks to the state, to the Theodore Roosevelt Memorial, which is this state's memorial officially to our governor, former governor, and 26th President of the United States. And many of you came through that memorial on Central Park West. But today we are especially proud to host this event because the cultural sector in New York City and across the state is a critically important driver of New York State's robust tourism and economy. In 2013, this museum and its visitors had a total economic impact of $1.3 billion, supporting over 10,000 jobs and generating $46.6 million in tax revenues for the state. And there's a reason for those numbers. Culture and the arts are a key part of New York's identity and a key part of driving tourism throughout our state, whether it be in Albany, Cooperstown, Rochester, Niagara Falls, Saratoga Springs, or right here in the Big Apple. I thank all of you for being here, for your role in New York State's tourism. I hope you have a wonderful conference, and it is my great honor now to introduce one of New York's great partners from the state, Lieutenant Governor Robert Duffy.
Oh, thanks, Rob. Thanks. Thank you very much. On behalf of Governor Cuomo, I want to welcome you all. I want to first start by thanking Ellen and her great team for hosting this event. We've had a lot of summits and events. I think this is one of the most beautiful rooms we've been in so far, and it's really a credit to her and her staff. And Ellen did tell us beforehand that, look above, the whale has been reinforced before today's event, so nothing to worry about up there. But I'm glad to welcome you all. This is Governor Cuomo's second tourism summit. The last one was about a year ago. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come. If you traveled from far away and around the state, we appreciate your time. We have a great group of stakeholders and leaders who are here today who have really helped drive tourism. The governor's done a phenomenal job, which I'll touch on before I introduce him in a few minutes. Some of the things that he has done. This is an industry that not only shows off our state, but also creates jobs and great economic vitality. And I can't think of anyone has done more to push that over the last 4 years than our governor has. Before we start with our speakers, I'm going to just turn your attention to the monitors. We have a short video we want to play for you. It is a great video, and what it shows is how big and how beautiful New York State is. And nobody has done more to be a cheerleader for New York State than our governor. And over the last 4 years, I have personally seen this man from whitewater rafting in the Adirondacks, snowmobiles in the winter in the Adirondacks, fishing, car shows, wine country. He has gone around, he has tried to bring the downstate populations to upstate, upstate to downstate. He has marketed this state not only around New York but around the world. He has been personally involved with that, showcasing everything that he could, as evidenced by the second summit we're having here. He understands the economic impact tourism has, but he also understands that the best way to market our state is to get people to see New York State and really to take and participate in all the things that everyone here has worked so hard to put forth. So it gives me great honor and a privilege to welcome our #1 cheerleader for our state and a great governor, the great state of New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Well, thank you very much. And first to my #1 partner, Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy. I can't tell you what an extraordinary asset he's been to the state and his service has been to the state. Let's give him a round of applause. And President Futter, we thank her very much for her hospitality and her kind words and introduction. This is a magnificent institution. People know it as an institution of great science and culture and history. I know it as the place where I spent the longest night of my life, actually. I had the great idea of taking my daughter, then 7 years old, for her 7th birthday party. She wanted one thing, which was the night at the museum. And I said this would be my pleasure, night at the museum. And we brought about 10 girls to the night at the museum. God bless them, they didn't sleep a wink all night, and neither did I, but it's also one of the really great memories that I have, and we talk about it today, and it shows the creativity and the vision of this institution. It's a splendid blend of preserving and restoring, but also being current and vibrant in today's society. And it really is one of the great assets that this city and this state has. Let's give them a round of applause and thank them for their... We call these summits, tourism summits. Email is nice and video conferencing is nice and all the technology we have is nice, but sometimes it's also good just to get around the table and to have a conversation and to put faces together with names and to make those relationships. So let's start by going around the table if we can. We'll start with Brian Stratton.
Governor and Lieutenant Governor, I'm Brian Stratton, the Director of the New York State Canal Corporation. Our 524 miles of canals includes the Great Erie Canal, which put the Empire in the Empire State. Today, our canals generate some $380 million each year in direct tourism spending. That is in addition to the significant economic benefits of agricultural irrigation, power generation, drinking water, and commercial shipping. It is an honor to be here today. Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, Brian.
Hello, I'm Journey Gunderson. I'm the Executive Director of the Lucille Ball Desjarnais Museum and Center for Comedy. That's in Lucy's hometown of Jamestown, New York, located in Western New York, also home of the world-renowned Chautauqua Institution on the beautiful Chautauqua Lake. I'm also the producer of the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival, which this year is headlined by none other than Mr. Jay Leno. And that features more than 35 comedic artists in 5 days, and in 2011 had an economic impact within Chautauqua County of $4.7 million over 5 days. I'm also the director of the National Comedy Center Incorporated, which is a new project. This is something we're building and designing to establish Jamestown as a destination for the celebration of comedy and the comedic arts. Celebrating the artists and their contributions to the art form, effectively establishing Jamestown as the Cooperstown of comedy, if you will. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Jack Locke. I'm the founder and the consultant for L&L Travel. We're the largest inbound operator for the Chinese market. Last year, we brought over 100,000 Chinese visitors to upstate New York. And this year, we're expecting double the amount. And thank you for the support from I Love New York. We were able to penetrate through the OTA in China. And we have working with many attractions, famous one like Watkins Glen Glass Center in upstate New York, as well as Lake George. And we've been creating new attractions for the Chinese visitor to Old Fort Niagara or the Secret Cavern, if you know there is a secret cavern in upstate New York. But overall, we're expecting the number continue to climb, and the economics impact, I don't have a figure. I know it's going to be more and more and more, okay? And thank you for inviting me. It's my honor, Governor and Lieutenant Governor, and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Herb Clark with the Sullivan County Catskills, but today I have the honor of representing, as president, the TPA, Tourism Promotion Agency Council of New York State, and soon to be the Travel Vacation Association, as we have entered into a merger agreement. So you'll have a new acronym to figure out, the New York State Tourism Industry Association. It's going to be stronger. We'll be able to work side by side with the Division of Tourism. And on the behalf of the entire tourism industry, Governor Cuomo, I'd like to say thank you for recognizing us as an industry and for giving us all the support you've been giving us. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Beth Duane with the Corning Museum of Glass, where you can experience and see all things glass. We love to showcase our 3,500 years of glass, which is the most comprehensive glass collection in the world. You can also see glass being made at live hot glass performances all day, every day. And then you can have a lot of fun and make your own glass at the museum. I'm very excited to share that we are undergoing a $64 million expansion. We're opening a new north wing, which is equivalent to 2 acres in size. And the goals of that expansion is to, of course, grow our capacity because we welcomed over 420,000 visitors in 2013. But we also want to showcase large-scale contemporary glass, and we will have a new 500-seat venue in our hot shop for a variety of hot glass performances. We're going to be opening in December, and so I welcome you, Governor, and all of you to please come and enjoy the new and expanded Corning Museum of Glass.
Hi, I'm Gary DeYoung, the Director of Tourism for the Thousand Islands International Tourism Council. Thousand Islands is another brand that we share with Ontario and our friends in Canada, and I represent the area along the shores of Lake Ontario and the St. Lawrence River. There's a lot of great things happening in the North Country, largely in part due to the REDC efforts, and I want to thank you for the investments that are being made in places like the Thousand Islands Harbor Hotel, Rock Island Lighthouse, and also importantly, you saw a lot of it on the video just now for bringing outdoor recreation to the forefront in tourism. Whitewater rafting, snowmobiling, fishing are hugely important to our businesses, and it's great to see them as an important part of the mix in I Love New York.
I'm Rose Hart, and I'm Commissioner of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. And I just want to thank all of the partners that we have with our parks. And together, we stir up a lot of economic impact in the local community. About $2 billion annually and 2,000 jobs outside of the parks. But it's all the partnerships with all of these cultural and recreation institutions.
Great. Good morning. I'm Hillary Logan DeShane. I'm from the Wild Center in Tupper Lake, New York. I was born and raised on Long Island, but I've been working in the arts and culture sector in the Adirondacks for the last 25 years. I sit on the board of the Museum Association of New York as well, and I want to echo what's been said about the whole REDC process being so important to our organizations being able to accomplish what they're accomplishing in tourism. The North Country region, our co-chair, Tony Collins, is here with us today. Tourism is a key priority for our region, and especially for the Wild Center, which is a tourism anchor in our region. The Wild Center, as you may know, and hopefully everyone else will get to know today, is the Natural History Museum of the Adirondacks. We are very grateful to be here. We do spend some time here. Our board meetings sometimes are here in New York as well. And we are excited about a project that the state has invested in, our Wild Walk. Wild Walk is an 850-foot-long elevated walkway into the Adirondack trees, into the forest. It's going to be a way for people to get connected to nature and have exposure to things they might not have otherwise done in a fun and educational way. And we invite you all to come up for the opening of that, July 4th, 2015.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Scott Brandy, representing iSki New York. And before I make any comments, I just want to say, how about those New York Rangers? What a game. Up late last night watching it, so I'd be remiss not to say anything. New York State is home to the more ski areas than any other state in the nation with 54. We're fourth in the nation in skier visits, just behind Vermont Governor. We'd like to overtake them in the next couple of years. I'd like to report we're number 3 in the next couple of years. We employ around 15,000 employees, 5,000 full-time, payroll of about $55 million statewide. Our economic impact on an annual basis is $1 billion during the 4 months of winter when upstate New York needs it the most. Your campaign and spending over $3 million on winter tourism was fantastic. I was getting, originally from New York City, I was getting texts and tweets, pictures from friends riding the subways and saying, wow, how'd this happen? Amazing. Thanks for that, and I know it contributed to a year, along with good snow conditions and cold weather. We're up around 5 or 10%. I know that contributed, and I want to thank you all very, very much for that.
Good morning. I'm Chris Glynn from the Maid of the Mist in Niagara Falls, and I would be one of those partners that Commissioner Harvey spoke about. We began Saturday our 129th consecutive year running the boats at Niagara Falls, and thanks to you, Governor, and your very fine staff, we've established a new dry dock facility there in Niagara, and we're going to be operating for a long time to come, and we're glad to be here, and hope we have something to offer and input.
Can you guys hear back there? No. Okay, can you turn up the volume? Sorry, Chris.
Good morning. John Percy, sitting here in my role as president of New York State Destination Marketing Organization. I represent 16 large DMOs across the state that contribute to that $59 billion economic impact number to the state. We employ tens of thousands of people in this industry overall, represent them, and glad to represent them. Our agencies are from Long Island to Niagara Falls and Thousand Islands to Corning. It is my pleasure and privilege to represent them this morning at this table. My daily role is President and CEO of the Niagara Tourism and Convention Corporation, which represents the wonderful destination of Niagara Falls, the second most visited destination in New York State. And so I'm representing both this morning. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Governor.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Waldstein Hart. I'm Executive Director of the Walkway Over the Hudson, which is the world's longest elevated pedestrian bridge. So we have that claim to fame. Since we opened in 2009, it's been a very popular destination with over 700,000 visitors a year and over 3 million since we opened in 2009. The story of the Walkway Over the Hudson, though, is an extraordinary partnership between the private sector and the public sector. You may know that the impetus for the bridge was founded by private citizens and funded privately. The state joined on and the federal government, and together we raised the $38 million to open the walkway less than 5 years ago. Our studies have shown that we're contributing about $24 million in annual economic impact. Tourism is big. We've surveyed our visitors, and we have visitors from every state in the union and over 42 countries from around the world managed to get to the walkway, a fairly new facility. We think that number is only going to increase with a couple exciting additions to the walkway that are also public and private partnerships. I want to thank the state of New York for some very important funding, and that has allowed us to open a 21-story elevator that will connect the Hudson River waterfront to the walkway in mid-June. We also have our mobile web tour, which is in Spanish and English and will now be in Mandarin Chinese in 2 weeks. So we will be able to offer our visitors lots of information on your smartphone devices. So we would like to invite everybody to join us on the 5th year anniversary, which is this September, and we'll see you on the walkway.
Hello, my name is Mark Castiglione. I'm the Acting Executive Director of the Hudson River Valley Greenway and the Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area. I'm really here today to represent the perspective of the New York Path Through History program. The Greenway and the National Heritage Area really work with partners to protect and promote the elements that define our quality of life in the Hudson River Valley, our natural, cultural, and historic resources. Partners like the Walkway over the Hudson. And I was pleased about 1.5 years ago to begin working closely with the Governor's Office, the New York State Division of Tourism, and the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation on the Path Through History program. In 2012, the Governor created the Path Through History program to celebrate and draw attention to New York's unparalleled history. The people, places, and events that shaped our history in New York State contributed more than any other state in the nation to U.S. history and to really shape who we are as Americans. What's more is that heritage tourists spend more and they stay longer when they travel. So New York has the best story, so it makes sense then to invest in our history. And that's exactly what the Governor, in partnership with his agencies, have done. I've been working closely with the 10 regional Path Through History work groups that the Governor convened across the state to focus in on strategies to promote heritage tourism and tell their story within their regions. It has been such a rewarding experience, and I've learned so much across the state about New York's history. And I've really learned, most importantly, that many people across the state are committed as fully as the Governor is to New York's history, and celebrating that for people to enjoy and experience. I'd like to express my deep appreciation to all the historians, historic sites, museum managers, and tour professionals that are working to find new and engaging ways to connect people to our unparalleled history and to grow our heritage tourism economy. I'm pleased to report that today, over at Grand Central Terminal in Vanderbilt Hall, New York State history is on display at the MTA Getaway Days Path Through History event. People from across the state are sharing New York's history with everyone that walks through Grand Central Terminal today. Reenactors, public events, lectures, to really give a feel of everything that New York's history has to offer. I'd particularly like to thank the Baseball Hall of Fame for providing, for the first time ever, Babe Ruth's Hall of Fame plaque to this event to really draw attention to the tremendous history of New York State. This event at Grand Central Terminal is really a kickoff event to promote Path Through History weekends, which will happen June 7th and 8th and 14th and 15th. That event will feature nearly 300 historic events across the state to draw attention to the diversity and the depth of our history and to connect people with it. So with that, Governor, I would just like to say thank you on behalf of everyone working to advance heritage tourism in the state for being our champion.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Curtin, and I'm the Executive Vice President at NYC & Company. And it is really an honor to be here today on behalf of our President and CEO, Fred Dixon, our 2,000 members, many of whom are here today, and the entire tourism industry in New York City. We're thrilled that you have chosen New York City as the backdrop for this State Tourism Summit. And we applaud you and really thank you, Governor Cuomo, for recognizing the importance and the impact of tourism to our state and to our city. We are happy to be here at the Museum of Natural History and thank Ellen Futter for everything she does for us. We'd also like to acknowledge Ken Adams for his leadership on the tourism front, as well as Gavin Landry, who is our day-to-day partner with the state. And on a personal note, I'd like to thank Christine Nicholas, who was my former boss, and thank her for all of her commitment to the entire industry and guidance to me personally. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge New York City's Mayor de Blasio for embracing NYC & Company's mission and really being a strong advocate for us from day one. Last year, the final numbers are New York City welcomed a record number of 54.3 million visitors, which was an all-time high. Visitor spending is estimated at almost $39 billion, resulting in a net economic impact of over $57 billion. And this year, we are on track to achieve and likely exceed 55 million annual visitors, a milestone that was originally scheduled for 2015. New York City ranks as the #1 port of entry for overseas arrivals. We are the #1 big city tourism destination overall, and the #1 city for tourism spending. We also maintain the highest share of overseas travel to the U.S., claiming 1/3 of all the visitors, which is more than Los Angeles and Miami get combined. And as all of you here know, international travelers stay longer and they spend more money. In New York City, while they only comprise 20% of the overall visitation, they account for 50% of the spending. So combined with our strong domestic markets, especially from out of state, the spending of visitors to New York City generates over $5 billion annually in state and local taxes. As we all know, tourism continues to be a key industry in our city and a driver of the city's leisure and hospitality sector, now employing 373,000 people. And these people don't live in Midtown Manhattan necessarily. They're living in Elmhurst, they're in Bensonhurst, they're in Staten Island South Shore or Long Island South Shore. And as you know, in Westchester, Putnam, Dutchess counties, and beyond. It's the 5th largest industry in the city, and it will continue to be a pillar of our economy. And the confidence in the tourism industry in the city is really seen through the incredible, off-the-charts hotel development. We have the most active pipeline in the country, and this year we're going to surpass 100,000 hotel rooms in all 5 boroughs. We're projecting that we'll reach 110,000 rooms by the end of 2016, which is pretty amazing because 10 years ago, back in 2006, we only had about 70,000 rooms. And 40% of all the development that has happened since 2006 has occurred in boroughs outside of Manhattan, which is great for visitors because it gives them more places to stay and more reasons to explore the boroughs. More importantly, we are keeping pace with this demand and selling more room nights than ever before. And as the official tourism marketing association for the city, we produce programs to inspire, like Restaurant Week, Broadway Week, Just Ask the Locals, Neighborhood by Neighborhood, to name a few. And these complement our efforts on the meetings and conventions front, which also complement our international efforts, utilizing our 17 offices covering 27 regions. So all of this helps to fill these hotel rooms and keeps New York City with the highest occupancy in the entire country. So New York City tourism really is a success story for all of us here, and we're really excited to work more closely together with you and build on this momentum. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Ken Adams, President and CEO of Empire State Development.
Christine Nicholas, Chair of the Tourism Advisory Council.
Thurman Thomas, Vice Chair of Tourism Advisory Council. Can I say more? No, I would just like to thank the governor for what he's done, and this is speaking from everybody in Western New York and what he's done to, try to revive that economy up there and to get the people back out working, and really, more importantly, more than anything, to do whatever he can to keep the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo.
Good morning, I'm Joe Martens, Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Conservation.
Good morning, I'm Alan Steele, the President and CEO of the Jacob K. Javits Convention Center.
I'm Kathy Flack-Munsell, the Vice Chair of New York State Hospitality and Tourism Association and the CEO of Fort William Henry in Lake George, New York.
Good morning, my name is Joe Spinato. I'm President of the Hotel Association of New York City, representing 75,000 rooms here in the 5 boroughs, Governor, and over 270 hotels and growing. The trick is we just need to keep them filled.
Good morning, I'm Ken Meifert, here representing the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown, New York.
probably the best-known sports history museum in the world, and a national treasure situated in the natural beauty of central New York. This year, we're celebrating our 75th anniversary with a great lineup of events, and we look forward to continuing to serve as the anchor for tourism in our region for the next 75 years and beyond.
Hello, I'm Lisa Robb, Executive Director of New York State Council on the Arts, and I'm so happy to welcome all the guests here today and to be part of this round table, seeing so many of our partners that we actively engage with. In every corner of our state, there are arts, culture, heritage, and recreation activities taking place to serve our tourists, many of which come from within New York State, and we have our international and national visitors. New York State citizens who operate these businesses and attractions are very grateful for the support of the tourists and can offer some of the best customer service and deepest knowledge that can be provided to the tourists who are coming. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Michael Malone. I'm the Director of Events and Tourism Partnerships for Bass and the Bassmaster Tournament Trail. We are so pleased to be bringing back the Bassmaster Elite Series to upstate New York this summer to Cayuga Lake. Last year we were on the St. Lawrence, and we are also the host of the Governor's Cup, which will be on Owasco Lake on August 23rd. And we are also partnering with I Love New York on a multimedia package which will promote the natural resources of this great state throughout the country through our Bassmaster magazine and Bassmaster.com. On a personal note, although I get to travel the country and plan the Bassmaster events around the country, I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in Gloversville in Fulton County, and it is a pleasure to be here and to promote the natural resources of my home state. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Mike Alvick, Vice President of Marketing and Public Relations for Megabus.com. We're a daily express bus service using state-of-the-art double-decker bus vehicles with free Wi-Fi power outlets with fares from $1. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for giving a reason for people to travel. Sometimes we think our biggest competitor is a flat screen and an air conditioner, and we want to get people out of their homes, and you're helping us do that. We serve Albany, Binghamton, Buffalo, Rochester, Saratoga Springs, Syracuse, and New York City, and we're excited to say over the past 12 months, we've transported 1,900,000 people to those destinations, and we think there's a lot of partnership opportunities available to us here. Thank you all.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Ping from General Manager of China Eastern Airlines New York office. Headquartered in Shanghai, China, and we are one of the 3 major airlines in China. Annually, right now, there are more than 200,000 passengers taking China Eastern Airlines between Shanghai and New York. And this number will definitely keep climbing with our increasing frequency. We'd like to be an ambassador through a strong partnership with I Love New York to highlight not only New York State products, but more importantly, to help more travelers to discover the beauty of upstate New York. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Martin St. George. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Commercial at JetBlue Airways, which is not only New York's hometown airline, but also the largest intrastate carrier in the state of New York. And I'll say, although we're known as a carrier that has the largest domestic presence at JFK, I think it's a good time to mention, specifically for Thurman, that our very first flight did leave from Buffalo to New York City in February of 2000, and we're very, very proud to be invited here today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim McKenna. I'm with the Lake Placid-based Regional Office of Sustainable Tourism, and we've taken the regional concept seriously. We now contract with 3 counties, 3 villages, and 3 towns to do DMO and destination management services.
Good morning, Governor, Lieutenant Governor. My name is Patricia Ornst. I'm here with Delta Airlines this morning. I'm also here on behalf of the Tourism Council. We're an appointee that represents all the carriers on the board. So we are honored to be part of the council, but also be very honored to be part of the summit this morning.
I'm last, Governor. Good morning, everyone. Ted Blazer, President and CEO of the New York State Olympic Regional Development Authority, with facilities in Essex County, Warren County, Ulster, and Delaware counties, including the Lake Placid Olympic facilities. We're the home of the Miracle on Ice and host of this year's Adirondack Winter Challenge.
Thank you all. Let's give them all a round of applause. So as you've heard, tourism is big business in the state of New York. It is the 4th largest employer. 1 out of every 12 jobs comes from tourism. and it's probably the industry that has the greatest growth potential for the state. Certainly for upstate New York. It really has worked wonders. Now, New York City, frankly, has been more sophisticated and more developed in their tourism activities over time. It was a big priority, not just as we heard from Mayor de Blasio, it was a big priority for Mayor Mike Bloomberg, for his entire administration. They did it right. They were substantive about their activities. They invested significant resources, and the New York City reputation was already a national brand, and the city has done great work. The state, frankly, was not as aggressive in this industry as the city was. So part of today is about developing a synergy between New York City and New York State and those activities. New York City certainly is an attraction unto itself, breaking all records, 54 million people. The most interesting, multi-dimensional, sophisticated urban area on the globe, in my opinion. I'm a little jaded, but, everyone knows that. I believe New York City is an even more attractive destination when you put it in the context of the environment around New York City. You have New York City as the uber urban area, but you're also 50 miles from world-class beaches on Long Island. You're also 30 miles from the Hudson River Valley with its history and its school of art. You're a couple of hours from the Adirondacks. You're a couple of hours from the Finger Lakes and some great wine territory. Western New York, Niagara Falls. I think the attraction of New York City will be enhanced if we effectively communicate the range of activities within the area of New York City. From Upstate's point of view, just a fraction of those 54 million tourists who come to New York City, just a fraction, who go north or go east, it will make a tremendous difference for the upstate economy. And we have a story that has been untold about upstate New York. Because the state wasn't aggressive enough in telling its own tourism story, people don't even understand the assets we have in upstate New York. New York City, and I can say this is an old New York City boy, New York City doesn't even understand the assets that we have in upstate New York. So it really is a story that has to be told. It has to be told from a business point of view because there is a business potential. It is also an enriching experience. There is so much that this state has to offer, to enjoy, to educate, to inform, and we want to make sure we're communicating that message. So that's why the venue is where it is, to develop that synergy among the groups and the people in this room, literally. Now, although New York State doesn't have the same history of endeavor that New York City does, we have been very aggressive over the past 4 years in what we've been doing. The Empire State Development Corporation, as you heard, has taken the lead. We had a tremendous asset in Christine Nicholas Latigano, or Latigano Nicholas, depending on your point of view, who brought sophistication to the state's effort. Thurman Thomas, the entire council has been fantastic. But we have been working very, very hard over the past 4 years. And our efforts are organized around basically 3 campaigns. We have the Pathways Through History campaign, which organizes the historic sites throughout the state. People don't understand the history that we have in this state, from the war sites, presidential history, so Pathways Through History. We then have the Taste of New York campaign. Taste of New York, as you saw in the video, we have great wine country in New York. We have an explosion of wine companies, distilleries, breweries, craft breweries. The liquor manufacturing business is really an industry that is exploding in the state. So the cuisine, the breweries, et cetera, that's Taste of New York. And then the I Love New York campaign, which is more of the traditional attractions of New York, organized through the I Love New York campaign. We've organized them through those three main campaigns, and then we've been very aggressive in how we market them. The state didn't even use the full assets of the state in marketing. For example, part of the state is the MTA. The MTA are the subway cars. Part of the state is the Port Authority. Those are the airports. So you'll notice recently, and more so as time goes on, marketing campaigns within our own assets, marketing at the airports, marketing on the subway system, marketing on the buses. Again, our own tourists that are coming to New York City are a prime audience for us, as are New York City people who need to understand the assets in the rest of the state. We've also been very aggressive on special events, especially in upstate New York. As you heard, the Watkins Glen Adirondack Challenges, which is where we brought Mayor Bloomberg last year to go up and do whitewater river rafting in the Adirondacks. Very significant wager. I won, surprise, surprise. The timekeeper was also a state employee, surprise, surprise. But I know these efforts work because we can tell in the numbers that the efforts work. We increased our tourism budget by about $40 million, which was a very significant increase and frankly, a gamble. $40 million in 1 year. Our tourism revenue increased $4 billion on the $40 million investment at twice. That was twice the national average rate of increase, 25,000 new tourism jobs. So the investment paid off, and this year, if anything, we want to double down and be even more aggressive in that investment. We're going to start with what's called the TPA, which are basically regional tourism organizations. Tourism in the state is done by the state offices, and it's done locally, regionally, through organizations called TPAs. They get funded by the state. Last year, they received about $10 million in funding. We want to increase that funding to $12 million this year because they've been doing extraordinary work, and we want to provide them more resources to advertise locally. We're going to add, I said we had 3 campaigns, the Pathways Through History, Taste of New York, I Love New York. We're going to add a 4th campaign this year, which will advertise the outdoor activities of the state. Hiking, fishing, hunting is big business for the state of New York. The Department of Parks, Rose Harvey, the Department of DEC under Commissioner Joe Martens has done extraordinary work in improving those assets. So we want to add a 4th campaign, which is the New York Outdoors campaign, to develop that line of business. Again, for New York City tourists and New York City residents. So we'll be adding that. We'll be adding a number of special events which will attract people from across the state. We're adding a new campaign on the signage system that we've developed for the state. With the slogan, the theory, New York isn't just the best place on the globe to visit, it's also the easiest. We found in the research that people were a little intimidated about coming to New York. It's complicated, it's fast-moving. So we're marketing the theory of it's not just the best, it's the simplest, and that's a series of signage that's on the roads as well as mobile apps that make seeing New York very simple, and we want to make sure we coordinate with that. And probably most significantly, we're going to increase our advertising budget once again, which is what paid the dividends for us last year. And we're going to be adding $25 million to the advertising budget, and we're going to be doing that. Because I think it is that simple. You know, part of tourism is sales, right? And part of sales is telling the story. And we have a product that if we tell the story, the market will respond to the product. I am convinced of it. Because you can't have a better product than we have in the city and the state of New York. There's almost no activity, no cultural institution that you would want to participate in that we don't have here in New York. We just haven't told the story, and this advertising budget, I think, is a big step forward in exposing our assets and exposing what we have in this state. I'm also particularly keen on these ads. They brought some creativity and a sense of celebrity to New York, which is an added dimension that I think is going to get us some more attention. So it's full speed ahead. We're doing everything we can. And again, the purpose of this summit is just to increase the synergy among us and the relationships among us, and making sure we're all basically in the same line of work and we're trying to do the same thing. And I believe the synergy and the relationships and the marriages among the organizations in this room can wind up helping everyone exponentially. If we get them to come to New York, the more they do in New York, the better for everyone. And that's what today is about. With that, let's turn to the ads, and hopefully the technology works, and we'll preview what this year's advertising campaign is going to be all about.
There's no place like it in the world. My favorite place is the Hudson Valley. It inspired famous painters like Thomas Cole, with amazing landscapes like the breathtaking Mohonk Preserve. Here you'll visit historic locations like Olana and West Point, and appreciate chefs at the Culinary Institute of America. Come discover your favorite part of New York. Plan your summer vacation at iloveny.com. There's something for everyone.
I'm Michael Strahan, and I love New York. There's no place like it in the world. My favorite thing is the excitement of the outdoors, like rock climbing in the Catskills, rafting in the Adirondacks, surfing on Long Island, or getting your heart racing at Watkins Glen International. Come discover your favorite part of New York. Plan your summer vacation at iloveny.com. There's something for everyone.
I'm Meryl Streep, and New York is my home. There's no place like it in the world. One of my favorite places is the Finger Lakes. Seneca Falls is the birthplace of the idea that women should be regarded as full citizens and allowed to vote. You can enjoy nature along beautiful trails or relax at our world-famous wineries. Come discover your favorite part of New York. Plan your summer vacation at iloveny.com. There's something for everyone.
I'm Ed Burns, and New York is my home. There's no place like it in the world. My favorite activity is fishing. We have the best trout fly fishing east of the Rockies, 5 of the country's top bass lakes, and one of the world's top 10 fishing destinations off Montauk. And now, with reduced freshwater license fees and no saltwater fees, New York's world-class fishing is even better. Find out more at iloveny.com.
I'm Vanessa Williams, and New York is my home. There's no place like it in the world. My favorite part is the rich culture. There's modern art at MoMA, opera in central New York, world-class performances in Saratoga Springs, and the magic of the Corning Museum of Glass. Come discover your favorite part of New York. Plan your summer vacation at iloveny.com. There's something for everyone.
I'm Steve Buscemi, and New York is my home. There's no place like it in the world. I love exploring all its amazing history, like the Revolutionary War battlefields in Saratoga, or Ellis Island, where America welcomes some of my own family. There's also the birthplace of the women's movement and FDR's home. Come discover your favorite part of New York. Plan your summer vacation at iloveny.com. There's something for everyone.
I'm Robert De Niro, and New York is my home. It's the best place to visit in the world, and now it's the easiest. Because now there are new tourism guides, on the road and on your phone, that make it easier to find the places you love. Find great dining, amazing history, and world-class entertainment no matter where you are. Take the ultimate road trip and see why I love New York. For more information, go to iloveny.com.
I'm Billy Joel, and New York is my home. There's no place like it in the world. My favorite place is Long Island. It's an endless beach, from Long Beach to Montauk to Long Island Sound, with incredible fishing, Teddy Roosevelt's home, and the first port in the U.S. Come discover your favorite part of New York.
I'm in a New York state.
Plan your summer vacation at iloveny.com. There's something for everyone.
Isn't that great? I'm so excited about it. I mean, each one, you have different personalities, and we actually reached out to them and asked the question, what's your favorite part of New York? Because the theme was, I'm a New Yorker, there's no place like it on earth, and here's my favorite part. Obviously, we highlight all the different areas of the state, we highlight all the different activities, and they were all tickled pink just to do it. I mean, we didn't have to ask twice. So I'm very excited about this. I'm even more excited about the investment when I saw the quality of the advertising. And I think it's going to make a big difference. And again, it's just telling the story and getting people here, and the product will then sell itself. So let's give another round of applause to the team that did these ads, the SBC. And with that, let me turn it back to the Lieutenant Governor. Thank you.
Thanks, Governor. First of all, I whispered to the Governor during the ads, nobody's ever done this before, and what he's done with tourism is phenomenal. But I just want to point one example that you might not know of. As the Governor has gone around the state, really transforming the state over the last 4 years, a little known example of what he's done is in the state capitol. As we're in a beautiful museum, I would urge everyone here, if you get a chance to, if you've not been in there lately, go into the state capitol and see what he has done. It is a living, breathing museum of history, contributions of art and history from all around the state. You can walk hallway to hallway and just really be just caught up in all the great history and just the beauty. It is clean, it is freshly painted, it is a pleasure. You see families, schools, kids in there all the time, but it really is a manifestation of what the Governor's done over the last 4 years. And if you don't know that, or have not been to the Capitol, please take a chance to come in and see it. And he also should be given kudos for expediting the construction process, probably by shortening it by 5 years. He came in office, I think their plan to finish it was probably cut by about 90%, and it got done, and it is absolutely beautiful. So I would urge you to go in and see it. And it really is a great metaphor of what this man has done for New York State throughout the last 4 years. So with that, our first speaker, and I'm not sure, I'll use the name Christine Nicholas, but she is the chair of our Tourism Advisory Council, and she's done a phenomenal job with tourism. Christine.
Thanks so much, Governor, and thank you, Governor, and thank you, Ellen. You know, we heard in the remarks about hunters and anglers and all of the outdoors stuff that we're doing, so I think this is the closest you can really get to that in New York City, so it was perfect. So thank you for having us. And also, Kelly, thanks for giving us an update on what's happening in New York City. When you hear those numbers, that's really why we're here. You know, we talked about fishing. We're going to have the Bassmaster. So we're basically here in New York City for a big fishing expedition, if you will. We need to fish for more visitors. So not only do we have the 55 million visitors, but you think about the 9 million New Yorkers that live in the tri-state area. And then I add to that another 4 million folks that commute into New York or so. So we have a terrific base here. New York City is a terrific source, but all boats will rise with the tide. So if we can bring more people into New York City, which is one of our goals, New York State will also benefit. I want to thank the wonderful staff that I get to work with at ESD, Kenneth Adams for your terrific leadership, Rich Newman, Gavin Landry, and Ross Levi. I know Gavin and Ross are here. Please stand up so we can thank you. Thanks, Ellen. She's always looking out for me. We also have a terrific group from TAC. Some are here today. John Ernst, Peter Carafano, Tom Mulroy, Alexander Stanton, Eleanor Tatum, and Assemblywoman Marge Markey came earlier but needed to leave, Governor, but also extends her thanks. And also I want to say something about Thurman Thomas, our vice chair. Doesn't he look great, so nice and casual and all? Okay, so the reason why he got so dressed up for the occasion is because Thurman has pulled an all-nighter. He didn't mean to. He left Buffalo with no problem, right? But it was when he went out of state for his connection to get here is when all things started to fall apart. But what a trooper. You know, it took how many hours? 24 hours to make it here?
Pretty much, yeah.
But he made it here, so let's hear it for Thurman Thomas. That's one of the things that TAC we spoke about at the board meeting about our aviation committee, so you're going to have great insights. We really welcome it. But thank you all for joining us today and for sharing your passion for the great state of New York. Last year when we met, I mentioned a need for us to make an invitation to invite the world to come to New York State and to experience all the tremendous tourism assets it has to offer. As you'll see this morning, I think we have made great strides in reaching out and making that invitation to the traveling public. Today is really about the synergies that the governor mentioned and expanding our base. It's exciting to host this year's summit in New York City, one of the top destinations in the world, literally the gateway to America. It is particularly fitting to be here at the museum. New York City's importance to the overall tourism industry cannot be overstated. In fact, one of the great things about today's summit is a business-to-business marketplace meetup taking place later today. Gavin and his team have invited key industry tour operators and buyers to meet with the state's vacation regions to develop new travel itineraries and opportunities for domestic and international travelers. These travelers, these travel buyers and attendants today will represent millions and millions worth of business, and we are thrilled that they are learning more about New York State and with the regional experts themselves. This is just one piece of what we know will be an incredibly productive day. We look forward to hearing from all of you with deep ties to the industry and years of experience attracting visitors to New York. And with your expertise and input, we will continue to find success. And Governor, thank you so much. You said that we are here to build synergies. We're also here to build bridges. I don't want to preempt what you're doing later today, but what you have done for New York State, you know, there's an old adage that to be successful, you have to show up. Well, you've shown up, and we really take notice. It has really been wonderful to watch, but more importantly, wonderful to experience, and we all have experienced that. And we thank you also for your dedication for what will happen tomorrow with the opening of the 9/11 memorial that you will do with the president and the former governor and former mayors and the mayor. This again, we will expand to our international reach, which will continue to bring more and more people to New York City and New York State. So thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. I'm now honored to introduce a person who also has been a huge supporter of tourism and economic development, the President and CEO of Empire State Development, Ken Adams.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Governor, you were right about me sitting next to Kelly. She's already promised to send the 55 million visitors coming to New York this year to destinations all across upstate and Long Island. Thank you, Kelly, for that.
Get ready.
The governor said that we had to step up our tourism promotion and marketing efforts and get much more aggressive. I've got a quick PowerPoint to show you, and I'm going to be aggressive in the interest of time and go through it quickly. My role here this morning, briefly put, is to, well, remind you all that a year ago, on May 8th, 2013, the governor hosted the first summit, tourism summit, in Albany. So what's that, 63 days later, a year and 5 days, here we are in New York, and there is a lot of achievement to celebrate in that 12-month and 5-day period. And yes, I have a PowerPoint to walk us through it, but again, I'm going to do it quickly so we can, as the governor has said earlier, hear from you about key issues all across this state. Bear in mind, and it's a very important point, that at Empire State Development, we were always the home to the I Love New York campaign, but it was kind of a sleepy effort, if I can say that, Governor, until you came to us and said, think about tourism as a major economic development focus, as a major driver for the state. And so we have really tried, under your direction and with your support, to step it up, to be aggressive, and to support our partners, the TPAs that you mentioned and many others, all across the state. And here are some of the results. Now, also bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that so much of this really came from that first summit last May 2013, your input from industry leaders, and then our support, thanks to the governor's encouragement, to try to make this happen. Long checklist of commitments that were made at last year's summit. Pleased to report that we really have taken on all of them. And as I go through the slides quickly, note that there is a beautiful program booklet put together by ESD staff and others for today's summit that has all of these details and more, so you don't need to take notes, and I can go through the slides. First thing we really committed to, 2013, 2014, massive out-of-home advertising. And this is the governor mentioned this, and he mentioned some examples of using assets like the MTA, subway platforms, bus wraps. We have done a ton of this work to build awareness of upstate attractions, regions, destinations in this very powerful and critical downstate and New York City market. This, by the way, is the S train. If you wanted to pick a subway with that got lots of visibility, the one that links Times Square to Grand Central Station every 20 minutes is wrapped with our get out of town messaging. The out-of-home advertising isn't just on the subways. I hope you've all seen it at the airports. We have friends here from JetBlue, Terminal 5. We've done that entire corridor that links the terminal to the air train, and much more very creative, very aggressive and bold advertising to capture people just as they're coming into the city, indeed in many cases coming into the country. A lot of what we do is highly leveraged by earned media. In other words, all of the attention we get for your destinations, your activities, your attractions, in all forms of print, TV, radio, and social media. This is very important because it's others, it's credible witnesses driving home the messages of our great destinations and attractions. And it's big money. This is about $30 million by our calculation of earned media. In other words, that's $30 million we didn't spend that was devoted instead to the paid advertising. This is the earned advertising, if you will, or the earned media coverage. People travel for different reasons. You all have helped us understand the various segments of the tourism market in New York State, and therefore, as the governor mentioned, we go into Path Through History, we go into the Taste New York campaigns, the I Love New York campaigns, with very special and focused strategies to get the attention for people who travel for different reasons, understanding those motivations. Path Through History, Mark mentioned it, as did the governor. There is this event today. You should all get a chance to go to Grand Central Terminal and see the launch of our summer campaign for Path Through History. The Taste New York effort brings together marketing initiatives that we've done at ESD on the governor's direction to promote, obviously, these great New York State grown and produced products, foods, beverages, and specialty wines and beers and things like that, but to promote that, but also link it to tourism, because a lot of people travel for the food. With respect to recreation, outdoor assets and attractions and special events, the Adirondack Challenge back in July is a perfect example of shining a spotlight, a promotional spotlight with tons of earned media and some paid advertising on a key and beautiful part of the states, in this case, the whitewater rafting that we did in the Adirondacks this summer. And by the governor's own personal commitment to the event and recruiting a couple hundred VIPs there, a tremendous amount of attention, and again, a very effective spotlight on recreation in the Adirondacks. Bassmasters, again, we're pleased to note that Actually, this year there wasn't going to be a Bassmasters event in New York State, but with the governor's commitment to the event, we are bringing back Bassmasters to Owasco Lake and Cayuga Lake in August, as has been mentioned by Michael. By the way, that event alone was a $40 million economic impact for the Lake Champlain, the region where it took place last year. We've got a great facility at Watkins Glen, as I think that you all know, and the governor's commitment to a promotional event there, actually around a campaign to discourage texting while driving, again, drove home a very important public safety message, but also brought attention to a wonderful tourism asset for the state up at Watkins Glen. The PGA Championship is an amazing, a great example of an incredible event, a global sports event at wonderful Oak Hill in Rochester that last year, that event alone drove over $100 million of spending for the week or so that the event was in Rochester. That's in Rochester, Monroe County, and around the area. Huge economic impact, and frankly, a great successful relationship with the PGA organization, such that they have now made commitments to do an upcoming Ryder Cup and second PGA Championship at Bethpage on Long Island in the next few years. By the numbers, and again, a lot of this is well documented in the materials in the booklet, let's remember, as I started out by saying, and the governor has made so abundantly clear, tourism is a major part of the state's economy, fourth largest employer, huge driver of revenue, huge driver of economic activity, and as such, it is, yes, a critical part of the mission of Empire State Development as the state's overall economic development agency. Almost 800,000 people supported in the sector, and visitation up by almost 9 million people year over year, 2012 to 2013. The governor said it better than I could. The impact from the investment in the I Love New York advertising that we did last year produced a multiplier effect and a market response that's phenomenal in terms of the return on that investment. Again, quick overview for you all. I urge you to look at the materials in the booklet and, of course, continue to work with us all through the year between now and our next summit as we do our best at ESD to help you promote your destinations and attractions. Thank you very much.
Give some time to open up for discussion right now on the table, and what the governor likes to do with these events is to listen to some ideas. So since Kelly Curtin has promised 55 million visitors, we're going to maybe call on Kelly first to start.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations on that amazing, amazing advertising campaign. It's really, really exciting, and I'm sure it will be a tremendous success. You know, I guess it's been in the past 8 months or so, NYC and Company has really been collaborating more with Gavin and his team on different tactical things like the I Love New York website and some of the trade shows, the important shows we attend in Berlin or London, raising awareness of New York. And we would love to have a more formalized partnership with some action items, and it would just be great to build on all of this. So.
Okay, you're here.
Wait, Ken? Comment on that, Ken?
It's a fantastic invitation, and we're delighted, and Kelly, yes, committed, as you know, to work with you, especially in the area of international marketing. New York City and Company governor has a network of international offices. We'd like to work together with them and do more marketing to attract international visitors to upstate and Long Island destinations.
I don't understand how the industry works well enough, but when you market the initial package internationally, can you market a package that has a number of elements to it, come to New York City, but also go to Western New York for the day, go to the Adirondacks for the day? Can we literally present the packages that way?
We can present it that way. We would get the tour operators to present it that way, because when we go to these shows, we're educating the trade, the tour operators, and the press, and then they are the ones that contract with the different venues, if you will, and they sell it.
Great, and also depending on the time of year that people want to visit New York, you know, we have different attractions that we can custom fit for that particular marketing.
We could do that. That would be great. I mean, in New York City, just, you know, the hotel, we're doing very well in terms of tourism, but January and February continue to be our slow months, and we push all of our promotions to that time. So anything we can do to help drive more folks from New York City upstate and bring people from Long Island or anywhere else in the state to the city in the slow months would be fantastic as well.
And Kelly, we can definitely help there because obviously we have a lot of winter activities in upstate that could make New York City January, February more attractive.
Yeah, I think, Kelly, to that point, we should probably form some kind of, committee or so with the upstate venues. I'm thinking of the skiing venues, the snowmobiling, so that maybe they stay in the city for 2 or 3 days, and then I'm sure there's an airline or two that goes directly to Buffalo or wherever we need to go upstate, so they can package that together. So half city and half upstate, especially in the wintertime when we have so much to offer. Great. So we'll continue on that.
Speaking of skiing, we'll go to the North Country. How about Jim McKenna?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on, looking at it over the last 10 years, Governor, sometimes the I Love New York program is like a light switch where you turn it on and you turn it off. But now we're treating it more like a faucet, and it's working. And I have some hard evidence to show that, and I think it's good to bring it down almost to the county level to see what it really means. We do an annual report that's visitor profiling and conversion analysis, and we've always tracked the I Love New York trackable leads. When we say trackable leads, it's we have somebody's name or address, we have their email. That's the only time we count them. We have a third party that sends out the information, surveys them, and just to give you some comparisons, in 2010, that's really before we started recognizing things, we could track from I Love New York 7,272 trackable leads, okay? Now we're looking at this in 2013, 20,360. So we're seeing it a direct result. So we can take it a step further. We can also look at, we know length of stay, and we also know per party expenditure. So when you look at those numbers, we look back at 2010, and we saw a direct spend of $12.8 million from the I Love New York program in Essex County, New York. That generated for Essex County about $500,000 in sales tax. Let's jump ahead to 2013. This past year, a direct spend that we can track to I Love New York and Essex County is $33,539,000, Governor. That translates, you can tell Randy Douglas, you put $1.3 million in his sales tax pocket. So like that, that's good. And that's what it is, it's the continuity ongoing. That's what's making the difference. So it's that, and I've also recognized the event part, Governor. What that has done, it's done a couple of different things. Not only the exposure, I remember that Adirondack Challenge in 3 or 4 minutes on CBS Morning. That was fantastic. But it's unified people. It's even identified the local people have recognized what's there in the backyard. And, the way you've presented those, you've turned tourism from the hospitality industry, you've turned it into an economic development tool. So, way to go, Governor.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Dwayne.
with those itineraries that are inclusive of transportation and accommodations. Everything has to be figured out. Yes, they can use their imagination beyond that, but until we help them figure out what there is outside of New York City to do, they aren't going to explore.
Great. And you're saying, Elizabeth, in a full package with all the details, transportation, et cetera?
Yeah, you really need to provide the transportation and accommodations as well as the itineraries. The itineraries are great, but many people who are coming abroad, they don't have the transportation. They're not familiar with what types of accommodations we have.
Good.
So, I mean, I know at the museum we have around 30% of our visitation is international, and it continues to grow. I know the investment that's being made by New York State abroad is working. I just encourage to continue investing in the advertising, joining the Visit USAs, having more in-country representation. We see strong visitation from China, Canada, of course, but also from France and Germany and Israel, seeing incredible growth from Australia and Russia. So the possibilities are endless, but I can't agree more to just keep that faucet open and be in it for the long haul.
Great.
Ken.
Governor, I'd like to thank you for your leadership and the wonderful promotion that the Isle of New York program has provided for Cooperstown this year as the Hall of Fame celebrates their 75th anniversary. The TV spot featuring 2014 Hall of Fame inductee Joe Torre has been incredibly well received, as well as the program with MTA and the Port Authority. And to give you just a sense as to the impact that that's had on our economy already, looking at the 9 days around Easter, school break week in most of the Northeast, the Hall of Fame saw a 160% increase in our attendance over the previous year, looking at that same break week. That 160% increase, those additional visitors, represented more than $2.6 million in additional tourism spending in Otsego County and the Central New York region. So I would encourage you to continue the great work and consider continuing the campaign that is having a major impact on Cooperstown and the region as we enter the heart of our tourist season.
Great. Yeah, Governor, I'd like to add to what Elizabeth was saying. We've had some conversations with international tour companies about the possibility of drawing people. New York City is that magnet that pulls them in. I'm so glad to hear you say that even if we got a small percentage of the New York City customers to go visit the rest of the state, that wouldn't be so horrible, because years ago that wasn't always the case. Each city wanted to keep its own visitors within its own city, and New York is this gigantic magnet that it's an opportunity for us. And the operators that we've spoken to, England, Italy, Germany, India, a number of places, have said they're wide open to taking the New York City gateway, attracting people to New York, and then maybe taking 2-day trips or 1-day trips or 3-day trips to other places outside of New York City. And we're looking at possibly Megabus being the connecting link. But then there's also the other end of it. When we take them to that city, we take them to a city center on Megabus. Then they need to get from that city center to the attraction or to the venue. And so we're looking at ways to help linking the final destination with the transportation we have. And then one other thing, we're in the 21st century. Operators can make these changes much more quickly than they used to years ago when they printed materials that would have to go out, and that's what you had to live with for almost a year. Now you can change them on the internet right away. So the ability to be more flexible and to offer more of an opportunity to see interior New York exists, but we all really need to work together. And New York City's connection with its international offices around the world can be a help in developing those kind of ideas.
Hillary.
At the Wild Center, as you know, we're all about getting people outside. We want them to sort of get oriented to where they are and use that experience to go outside and have a richer or more fulsome experience. As has been pointed out here today, we have recreational opportunities in New York State that are literally second to none. Everything, the beaches, the mountains, the lakes, everything. But they are unknown to many. They're unknown to many in the state, but also the international group you're all talking about. My question is, and I think you alluded to it already, Governor, is there some way we can weave together these extraordinary New York assets to promote our great New York outdoors more fully? And I think you alluded to that earlier. What can we do?
Well, I think that's the challenge, Hillary, and you know what I'm hearing here is it gets very practical and mechanical. How do you knit together all the tourism opportunities that we have in this state so they can be marketed effectively? And that's really ESDC and Christine, I guess that's their practical challenge, how to do that and how quickly can we do that. What do you think, Christine?
Well, you tend to build bridges faster than anyone else. You open up museums faster than anyone else. So we will get on this and make sure that this is done quickly, pronto. Cuomo speed.
Chris?
Most people like to turn the microphone off when I start to speak.
some mornings at the Big of the Mist, we have thousands of visitors, and most of them are not from North America. And the more the State Tourism Office can be abroad and expand its footprint abroad, I think would be very helpful to Niagara Falls, New York in general, and our business in particular, and especially expanding the season and lengthening the season would be very helpful to the hotels in Niagara Falls, New York, and I think we could have a lot of good results from that. So I would just ask that you give consideration to all that you can do for the state tourism offices abroad and expanding the footprint on there.
Great.
I would just like to say that the Walkway of the Hudson is unique because it joins Ulster and Dutchess County. But I must say that this whole regional concept, I'm seeing it on the ground. You know, when we're talking about the trails, we're going to have 20 miles of trails. We're talking about Ashoka being connected up with the Hudson River and over to Dutchess County. And I think that's really wonderful. I think that's quite new, where we were looking more parochially at what our tourist destination was or what our county was. And I think that I'd just like to say that I think I'm seeing a real positive impact on this regional concept. And I think that's really how we make these partnerships and work together. And then just a quick idea, I was in Iceland, and they pick you up at Reykjavik, give you free 2-3 day stays, pick you up right at the airport and drive you all around Iceland to hike, bike, see the waterfalls. And, it's what you were saying, it makes it so easy, you just do it. I wasn't planning to spend 3 days in Iceland, but there I was. So that linking of the transportation and the wayfinding really works.
This walkway across the Hudson, for those of you who haven't been there, is remarkable. It is remarkable. And it's almost indescribable. It is literally a bridge across the Hudson at Dutchess County. It was, what type of, was it always a walkway? It's not for railway bridge, an old railway bridge, so it's relatively narrow, which was redone as a walkway bridge, which is very pretty, and it's a walkway across the Hudson at a especially attractive spot. It has attracted how many visitors? 3 million visitors. I mean, it is unbelievable what it has done for the entire regional economy and how big international visitors go to the walkway. So it just reminded me what a little creativity, a little forging partnerships, because it's people from the private sector who wanted to make a difference and had philanthropic activities together with the state, but it's been a real phenomenon.
We have time for one more comment before lunch. Thank you, John Percy.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I think for the first time in many, many years, tourism is being embraced by you, Governor, and the executive branch, and we can't thank you enough for that. It's just been phenomenal. But with tourism being the major economic driver in many of our respective communities, it is essential that we also pay close attention to the infrastructure and product development that we need in many of our respective communities. We need to capitalize on the growth that we're seeing in tourism, and that has to match with the product development as well, so that we can mirror the two and expand that, so that we can lengthen the stay, get people to spend more time, more money in our respective communities. So we need your help in either expanding the studies that have been done, or synergize. I love your word synergize. Maybe synergize all economic development agencies and sharing the wealth and depth of knowledge that we have with the regional economic development councils and the economic development agencies that exist all across our state. So I think that's very important, and thank you again for your help and assistance.
Well said.
Thanks, John. Well, to respect your time and stay on schedule, we're going to break for lunch. There's more time for discussions, so we're going to stop right now. There's lunch being served in the Powerhouse Room. Following that, there are breakout sessions, and then we're going to convene back here at 2:45 this afternoon, so there'll be plenty of time. If you have not been heard, we'll have that opportunity, but please enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you at 2:45. Thank you.